So my name is Grace Mary Mushiri. I'm the project manager at Jira Digital here at the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. And today I'll be your moderator for the webinar session and looking forward to an interactive session. So happy to see all of you and glad that you could join us. So maybe allow me to just begin and say karibuni, and maybe I can start by identifying who exactly we have on the call. So we have different representation, but I think it's good enough to start and say that we have the most significant and most vibrant demographic of the population. Those are the young people. I know most of us are in that bracket, and we managed to join in here. And as you can see even from the charts, we are having young people from different regions. We have both Nairobi. I see some, they're saying they're in Budalangi, others in Turkana West and all that. So so glad to have all of you here. And we want to also recognize the presence of also the private sector representatives from different sectors, both SMEs, corporates, and large organizations. We also have our development partners and different strategic partners within the Youth and Jobs projects. Also to recognize representative from the public sector, and you'll be meeting most of them, and they'll be also doing some speaking. So it's everyone in the house, and happy to have all of you. I hope most of you can hear me. Just in case of anything, just let us know on the chat and we'll be on the lookout. So allow me just to introduce ourselves and just indicate why we are mainly here. So today we are celebrating a very incredible and significant demographic of the population, as I said, the young people of this country. And we want to recognize them for your energy, for your creativity and innovation, for your hard work, and also the potential that you bring into the society. And that's why we thought, as the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, it's important to bring all the industry players on board so that we can definitely explore and discuss ways that we can continue to support the young people and to ensure that they reach their full potential. So why today and why now? As you've seen even from the posters that have been going around, our theme for the day is From Clicks to Progress. That's Youth Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development. So it's come at a time where we're trying to see how we can explore digitalization and its support to creation of work opportunities and elimination of unemployment and other SDGs highlighted issues and challenges. So we will be discussing today, and we believe we'll be able to, by the end of the webinar, we'll have very conclusive and tangible way forward and next steps. So we look forward to a very engaging time. Maybe to highlight what to expect, we'll be having young people sharing their journey and their stories, as well as we'll also have a keynote from one of our very important ministry, that is from the Ministry of Labor and Skills Development. We'll also have a panel session, and thereafter we'll have Q&As, so you can continue asking questions or making comments at the chats, or wait during the Q&A to raise them, and we hopefully will be able to manage all of them. We wish to keep time, so I think I will not continue saying much, but maybe to highlight in regards to the theme of today and why we're celebrating the young people. Here at the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, we have a dedicated department for youth and jobs that is looks at the different ways to skilling, empowering innovation, and also creating jobs. And with that, we do it in different ways. So as indicated, we do digital skilling and digital skilling, innovation, and jobs. And within that, we have projects like Ajira Digital Program. I know most of you have come across them. We have also the Ajira Digital Program, which is an initiative of the government and with strategic partnership for MasterCard Foundation, as well as in other implementing partners like Immobilis. We also have the Digital Skills and Employment Advancement Program. We call it in short form this year, which is also is a strategic partnership of Microsoft, and it's in mainly the upskilling of the emerging technologies like generative AI, cybersecurity, and such like skills. We also do Nexus, or rather we try to bridge the gap between education training and the market through different interventions like the dual TVET, which we have, it's in partnership with the GIZ. We also do entrepreneurship and innovation empowerment. We have a project within that's called the Twende Digital Project that we are supported by the Challenge Fund for Youth Employment. And we also do youth labor market intermediation services. And within that, we have the Digital Explorer project that has been doing a lot of good job, even placement of looking for work opportunities for young people within the European markets. So apart from that, we do a lot of thought leadership and research and policies, and all that are geared towards building the ecosystem of youth employment and empowering youth employment. So I'll stop at that and go to the next agenda of this webinar, and that is to welcome our young people. We have with us Esther Wangari, and we also have Neston Joseph. I hope I said it the correct way. These are our young people. Esther is in virtual assistance. She's been in the digital space, having joined through the Ajira Digital Program, while Neston Joseph, and I'm so sure maybe most of you have come across him, is an influencer, content creator, and he's mainly within the Twende Digital Project. So I just want to welcome Esther. I'll start with Esther, ladies first, and then go to Neston as they introduce themselves. And yes, you can put your videos on so that we see you, and then we go to Neston. Karibuni, Esther.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Esther Wangari. I am from Kirinyaga County. I am a beneficiary of the Ajira Immobilis programs, where I have had different trainings through our ICT hub here in Kirinyaga. I am currently working as a virtual assistant via Upwork, and I'm happy to be here and engage with you all and contribute to the discussion of the day. Thank you.
Asante, Esther. Neston, can you do an introduction? Maybe as we wait for Neston, we can just hear your story, Esther, how your journey has been in searching for work, and how you arrived at getting a digital job, landing your first digital work, and how that has been. Maybe you can give us your story as we wait for Neston. Yeah.
Thank you, Grace. So I joined Ajira in 2021 when we were doing the digitization of court records and mainly the transcription of court cases. And I got to train in virtual assistance via the Ajira program. And I've recently now started working in Upwork because through 2021, 2022, 2023, I was doing the transcription via different BPOs through the KEPSA. And it's been quite a journey. I've learned how to upskill and leverage the skills that I already possessed, which is essential in this digital economy. Other than that, I'm currently taking the AI and Career Essentials program with ALX. I'm in my final week, and it's been quite engaging. And we've got to see how we can leverage the AI and different digital skills in our daily works, as in my case, as a virtual assistant. And yeah, I love working in the digital space.
Here. I know maybe you're also modest to say, but I know you started as in transcription through the judiciary pilot project that we had through the Ajira Digital. And after that, you have explored a lot of other skills. I remember at some point when you were talking, you told me you got an opportunity with a Nigerian short courses online, which were also helping you to build up your career in the market space for Airbnb and real estate. So I think you can give us just a brief on that and how that has been, and even what led you to exploring such skills and such work opportunities, and how far you are with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So as I've said, in the digital space, you need to always upskill and try to get your foot to be among, I'll say the 3%, top 3% in this digital economy. So upskilling is always essential. So I went the Airbnb way. So when we talk about Airbnb co-hosting, is whereby you're sort of a hotel receptionist or hotel manager, but remotely. So there's a widespread population of Airbnbs all over the world. And a majority of these Airbnbs are owned by business people who have other businesses and use these Airbnbs as sort of an extra income. So it gets quite overwhelming for some of them to manage. Say someone has 9 properties, it gets quite overwhelming to manage these properties. And this is where now Airbnb co-host or a Airbnb virtual assistant comes in, whereby you manage this property, you coordinate guest check-in and guest check-out communication. You also coordinate with the cleaners. While here in Kenya, you can still hire a cleaner in Canada or Australia remotely, and then you coordinate shifts with them, and you ensure these Airbnbs are in top conditions when they are ready for their next check-in. You also optimize these listings. Each and every listing, or even in every industry, your profile, even I as a virtual assistant, my profile needs to be SEO optimized. So you also optimize these listings so that when someone is looking for an Airbnb in Nairobi, your listing comes up on top. And this is how you get more clients or more people checking in with you. So we also optimize, and then a client is also interested in finding extra properties. You do what we call property finding, and you find properties that will generate an income, and on top of it, a good profit, because from these profits is where you get paid. So, and then we generate leads and all that. I took the course via a lady in Nigeria, as you
Hello?
said.
Poa sana, ni aje?
Sorry,
It's okay. Uh,
Nilikuwa kwa meeting fulani na
as
si
Sorry, Esther.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Please proceed.
So I was saying I took the course via Lady in Nigeria, but I'm putting a disclaimer that this is something that I think should be discussed more about paying of courses, paying of what I see people are calling master classes and etc. I won't expound on it further because it's not something I'd like to encourage people to do at the early stages. It's something that you need to sit down as either a virtual assistant or a gig worker and investigate and look at courses that will actually help you. So I'll leave it at that at this moment.
Okay, yes, thanks, Esther, for that. I think maybe before we go to what may be the earnings that has helped you on, we can speak to Neston. I understand now he's back. Neston, you're with us, and maybe you can tell us briefly about your journey in the digital work. Neston?
Hello, how are you, everyone? My name is Neston. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, especially, being an International Youth Day. As a young person, it feels nice that we are being, in this space. And even as the theme suggests, from clicks to progress, I think I'm in love with that theme. So my journey in the digital workspace, I've always been a digital enthusiast, but now separating from that to an influencer has been like a big challenge. Why? Because I'm not an influencer myself. I don't dance on TikTok. I don't do a lot of content on TikTok, but I can be able to get exposure when it comes to me selling stuff on the net and that particular thing. So I joined Twiva, which is like a digital platform that tries to bring the customers towards the people who are actually selling this product. So where I come in is the bridge between what the customer wants to sell, what the trader wants to sell, and what the customer wants. So I've worked for Twiva for like the last 6 months, and I think it has been like an amazing journey. Number one, what I've benefited, of course, financial gain. It has been really good to earn income from that. I think also two is I think I'm also at a position of also starting my business, because one of the things that we do, we interact with businesses directly. Like I've been to KEPSA offices where now the traders come in and they could be able to tell you, oh, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do. It has been, ideally like an amazing journey. So what ideally we do, we have products in our platforms. Let's say if it is something on maybe fridges and TVs and that. So we place them on our shop. So each and every influencer has an e-shop. So what happens is that somebody who is like a consumer, or now my customers, would be able to go down to my shop and say, I want this particular thing. So they will order it directly from the shop. And then if necessary, I may be able to connect them with the person who's selling them. And then I'll get a commission out of that. I think, the last 2 months was like the boom of my month. I got about 15,000 from just selling. I think for me, every time I target to just at least sell at least 500 a day. It has been an amazing journey so far, because you don't even need your laptop, you don't even need anything, you just need a simple phone like this. And I can be able to help you like say, okay, this is what I need to do, these are my targets. And here, one of the good things, you don't even have to be computer literate. You just need to know how to click. And then I think also the workshops have been amazing. I think for me coming in, I was just like, I'll just call somebody and they'll just buy a product. Let me tell you, a lot of young people are not able to succeed in this particular field of digital marketing. Why? Because I think it's just like a simple thing. I just get in and then sell my products. But I think it's more of that. It's more of, do you have these digital skills? If you don't have them, can you get training on them? Because you need to understand what the customer wants and not what you're selling. Sell your product in a way that me as a customer, I'm able to think in my head that I have the need of that particular product. Not that I want to buy it. So sell the need, like you particularly need this, and not like, I just want to sell you this thing. Yeah, so that has been my journey so far.
Okay, thanks, Neston. That's quite interesting. And even the way you've described it and how you make your money. And I think maybe I can ask at this point, what is that one significant thing you can say you managed to do with your earnings, and how has that impacted even the people around you?
Wow, I love that question. I love that question because it's an amazing question. One, you see, whatever I'm using right now is courtesy of my earnings from this. I own a MacBook. See, everyone, I own a MacBook, and I own a MacBook Pro. And I think this was impossible if I didn't have Twiver or like now the digital platform of selling. I currently own a laptop simply because of just my sales. Not just a laptop, but it's a Mac. I think that one needs to be, very distinct. It's a MacBook. So I think that one has been, for me, the greatest thing. And I always keep on telling people, this is what digital skills can be able to help you get. Number two, I think for me, I've also been able to impact people with what I'm doing. I think with the earnings that I did, I tried to get this to young people. I realized that if we have 100% young people who are getting into digital skills, trust me, only 7% get to actually earn from this product. Why? Because the expectation and what is actually in the digital are so different. You expect that immediately I get into this space, I just want to get money. But that's not the thing. You need to have training. You need to be able to sit around mentors who can be able to help you. Like now I can consider myself a mentor. So in my house, even right now, I have young people who have set up for them something. I've told them, you know what, guys, I have my old laptop now because now I own a Mac. So the you guys sit here, do your stuff. Today we want to sell this product to these people. How can you be able to reach them? What are their contacts? So I've been able to, rightly do mentoring on that people. I've been able to spread the word. Like every single time, even to the youth day, I've been in spaces and I'm telling young people, there's a youth day. What is the impact you've created in the society? And number two, what impact do you want to be created for you to be able to elevate the things in your space? So I think I can just mention but a few. I would have mentioned many, but because of time, yeah.
Thank you for that. I think we've had you managed to get tools of trade. That's brilliant. And even the mentorship and inspiration. I think even from the comments, we're seeing so many people identifying with you. They're asking if you're Neston from MKU. I believe you are. And some even saying you've been a very great inspiration to them. So keep to it, Neston, and keep doing the good job as we inspire more young people to take advantage of the digital space. So I think lastly, so that we can wrap up this, call Esther back. I would also like to hear what is that significant thing she's managed to do with her earnings. Yes, Esther, to you.
Thank you, Grace. So back in 2021, when I joined the transcription project by the judiciary, I was able to start my home baking business, which is still in operation till date and expanding quite well. I've also now gotten into farming, where I am doing poultry and pig farming from what I earn from my digital work. Yes, so that has been a highlight. I'm also a foster mom, and I'm now paying school fees eventually. So, and that has been it's a big milestone for me. So the digital workspace, when used well, is something that can be able to pioneer you into other fields if you allow it. I'd advise people to use it as also as capital. What you get from your digital skills, what you earn while working digitally, it's, for me, while using it as capital to start all these other businesses, has been good for me, because there are times where we get into what is called the low season, where work is a bit low. And now these other income generating projects are able to keep me and sustain me throughout what we call those seasons. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Esther. That's amazing to hear, even to hear that you're a foster mom and you're supporting a family there and a future generation, definitely through education, as well as you've been able to do other farming and other income generating opportunities. I think we could have gone on, and we have very brilliant and amazing more stories that we could have shared. But visit the KEPSA YouTube. We have amazing stories there that we usually document now and then, so that you're able to continue and engage and learn more from young people. I've seen someone asking about maybe an organization that Esther works with. Some of these companies, we don't mention them for private policies, but definitely we keep you posted as we interact on our different platforms. And someone else is also asking how one can become Neston's mentee. So I'll just ask you to keep tuned in here, and we'll have more of that. But maybe we stop it at this point and just welcome a very key guest to this platform, who's been working with young people, has understood the dynamics in this the young people's population, and that's none other than very guest, Dr. Wanjiru Karaoke, who is the secretary in the Secretary Skills Development at the State Department of Labor and Skills Development. Karibu Daktari, and we are happy to hear your insights as you demystify the theme of this day. Thank you.
Thank you. Allow me to share my screen.
Yes, please.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Daktari.
Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you for inviting me to share with you what we are doing in the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection with regards to empowering the youth. I've been asked to talk about this theme, from clicks to progress, empowering young people through digital work and innovation for sustainable development. So what I'm going to do is to share with you what the Ministry of Labour is doing and where you can perhaps see where you come in with regards to issues of innovation, digital work, and so forth. So for you who are not familiar with the State Department for Labour and Skills Development, we have a directorate called Post-Training and Skills Development. And this one has been tasked by the government to ensure that there's a linkage between industry and skills development. So for a long time, skills was being developed without consulting industry. And that is what has caused the skills mismatch. And the skills mismatch, which has also contributed to high youth unemployment. And I wanted to share with you where we are in terms of unemployment. Now, if you go by the definition, the strict definition of unemployment, which is a person who is not working, but is seeking work in the last 4 weeks and is available to work, then you can see that the youth who are between 20 and 24 and 25 to 29 have very high unemployment. 15 to 19 may not be a big problem because they could still be in school. But 20 to 29, this is a cohort that has already got skills. And therefore, we should be worried when we have skilled people who are unemployed. So between 20 and 24, right now is at 15.6%. Sorry, I didn't put my video on. Okay. Is at 15.6% and 5.9%. Okay. If you look at the next slide, this is unemployment of youth. Those who are unemployed and those who fall outside the strict definition of unemployment. What does this mean? It could mean that we have youth who have given up on looking for work. And therefore, when you combine them with those who are looking for work, then you find the unemployment rate is going to 30.4%. And for 25 to 29 at 15.2%. And if you go to 30 to 34, which is a bit worrying, then it is at 12.1%. So these are the statistics for unemployment. Now, long-term unemployment, this is the youth who have not been employed for over 1 year. Again, you find those between 20 to 24 are still the highest. And then 25 to 29 years is also quite high. So what are we doing about it? Now, a major challenge that we are facing is that the labor market is changing at a very high rate. And the supply side, that is education and training, has not been able to keep up with what the labor market wants. And therefore, we are facing what we call the skills mismatch, simply meaning that there's a disconnect between supply side and demand side. And this is what is causing high youth unemployment. It is one of the reasons causing high youth unemployment. So what has the government done? In terms of policy, because policies are important, because resources also follow policies, the government has developed the National Skills Development Policy, which was approved in 2023. Now, this particular policy actually addresses the skills mismatch. It has looked at all aspects of the skills mismatch in Kenya and has come up with policy actions that need to be implemented. And the goal is to ensure that we have sustainable socioeconomic growth so that eventually we can have a skilled workforce that is employable, productive, enterprising, innovative, adaptable, and competitive. This policy can be accessed from the Ministry of Labour website, and it covers quite a number of issues, ranging from human capital development all the way to education and employability. We have done an analysis to find out the employability of graduates at all levels. And we are finding that university graduates have low employability compared to TVET. Youth who drop out, who do not proceed with tertiary education, also have high unemployment. So it is important that there's a transition from basic education to TVET or university. It means that when you are skilled, you are likely to be more employable. But again, university also needs to pull up its socks so that it aligns to the labor market and ensures that university graduates are highly employable. Again, we have looked at entrepreneurship. We have seen that there's a negative attitude of the youth towards entrepreneurship. And that's another area that we need to work on to ensure that people embrace self-employment, because jobs in the formal sector are diminishing. So there's a problem there. We also looked at quite a number of issues. The one that is most relevant to the theme for today is the skills for future employment, that is new occupations. And we have tackled this issue under the policy with regards to reskilling, upskilling, multi-skilling, and portable skilling. We are saying that because the market is changing at a rapid rate, it is important that the youth embrace the new skills that are coming. Green skills, digital skills, skills that are required in the global labor market. And this requires we upskill, reskill, ensure that you are multi-skilled or you have skills that are portable. This is what we have recommended in the policy. If we can implement this policy, I can assure you, we are going to reduce the skills mismatch in Kenya towards reducing youth unemployment. We have also done another policy, which is the national policy on linking industry to education, training, and research. And this one is important because we are trying to see how can industry, education, training, and research share knowledge. How can they share technology? How can they share infrastructure? And in this policy, we have looked at quite a number of issues which are actually relevant to what is being discussed today. We have looked at linkages between technology and research and even innovation. Innovation, we have looked at the issues of innovation hubs, creative hubs, knowledge sharing, intellectual property, and infrastructure collaborations. So this one tackles the issues of knowledge and technology transfer. which has been a challenge in Kenya. We have realized that we are not working well between, we are not sharing the knowledge we get from university and TVET with industry. Industry is not sharing the knowledge and technology they have, again, with the supply side. So this document is supposed to bring that linkage so that eventually we can have a globally competitive economy. Then we have also developed the National Work-Based Learning Policy. This one is extremely important for the youth because work-based learning prepares them to enter the labor market. And the youth have not been getting adequate work-based learning opportunities. So with this policy, we are envisaging that we shall provide incentives to industry so that they can provide opportunities for the youth to be able to get industry attachments, internships, apprenticeships, and so forth. So it gives us an integrated approach to dealing with the problem of work-based learning. The other one we have dealt with is the National Policy Framework for Career Guidance. This was approved in 2023. And this policy has looked at career guidance as a mechanism for helping the youth become employable. And that's why we say we wanted to promote lifelong learning, sustainable employability, and social equity. And therefore, we look at career guidance in three ways. In terms of career education, we want career education taught in basic, TVET, and university education as a subject. And then we want career counseling introduced so that the youth are counseled right from basic to TVET to university by career counselors. As we speak, career counseling has been mixed with socio-psychological counseling in basic education, and it has been neglected. And that is why we are having problems when the youth do not know which occupations or which careers or which skills to move with as they transit into the higher levels of education. So we are saying this framework is going to bring order and is going to bring progress in career guidance in Kenya so that our youth can become employable. Apart from education and training, we also want employment agencies. They have 30 employment offices. We want them to adopt career guidance so that even out of school youth can walk into these offices and get career counseling or career training when they get stuck on what kind of jobs they want or what career prospects are ahead of them. So we have also developed guidelines for this career guidance, and we have also developed a training manual. So we have done quite a bit to make this issue of career guidance move forward. Now, the other issue is labor migration. We have quite a number of employment opportunities in the global labor market, and we need our youth to work in these countries in a safe, orderly, and regular manner. So what have we done? Our policy has been developed. This is what we are calling the session of paper number 5 of 2023 on the national policy on labor migration. So we have a policy in place. But for us, we have now even come up with a strategy on how education and training can start training the youth on skills that are required in the global labor market. We have looked at quite a number of issues. One, what is the labor market information out there? Where are these opportunities? What skills are required? So we have brought that into this strategy. Again, we have looked at the issues of language, cultural integration. How do these youth integrate once they go out there? How safe can we make it be? How orderly can this be? So we have put all these issues. Again, the issues of recognition of their skills once they travel outside the country. So we have this strategy. We are just about to launch it and then start the implementation process. This one is also for a future. These are the new occupations that are coming. Green skills together with digital skills have been identified as the future skills. And therefore, we have also come up with a strategy for green skills and jobs. So once we develop this again, we run with it and implement it so that the youth can also start preparing for green skills and the jobs that are coming. Now, this is sector skills committees. I just wanted to share this with you and say that we have now come up with industry-led committees that are made up of industry, 11 of them, so that they can sit down with education and training and tell them, this is what we want in the labor market, so that they don't produce graduates who cannot work in the labor market or require to be reskilled or upskilled. So we believe that this is an innovative way of getting the industry to engage with education and training, so that they can sit down together and see what kind of skills are required, what are the priority skills that are required. Number two, what are the standards that are required, so that the graduates that now come out are able to transit into the labor market in a seamless manner. So that is the membership of the sector skills committees. You can see the employers, trade unions, professional bodies, and so forth. Then finally, we have labor market information. Our youth have complained that they do not have information about what is there in the labor market. And what we have done in the Ministry of Labor is that we have the Kenya Labor Market Information System. If you log in, you will find information on the labor market. We also have the National Employment Authority Integrated Management System. This one has employment opportunities, quite a number from the global labor market. And then we have the Kenya Skills Hub. This is a newer one. This one, what we have done is to put all the links that you need to be able to access employment, to be able to access skills development opportunities that are free, where you do not require to pay, career guidance opportunities. So what we have done is to create a one-stop shop where the youth can enter and go through the links and see which opportunities they can be able to access. This one was a result of the World Youth Skills Day that we held last year, where the youth said that for the first time, they were hearing about opportunities in the NGOs, in government, and they had no idea. And so we said, let's come up with a hub where we can put everything together. So this hub has all the opportunities ranging from skills, careers, employment, even the links for KLMIS and NIMS, they are also on the hub. And whenever we get a new link, we put it there so that you can be able to get them in one place. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanjiru. That was quite insightful. I've learned a lot myself. I hope all of us have. I've learned like very new terms I've not come across. Upskilling, reskilling, multi-skilling, and portable skilling. It's amazing. It's amazing. It reminds me some of us when you were in the university and you had been told by the parents to only do one course, which maybe it's engineering, and you're told, you know, we want you to be an engineer. But now in the world of today and through such policies, we are able to diverse our skills so that we can even do engineering with AI or engineering in AI and do transversal skills that can help us be more marketable and employable. So thank you so much. Thank you even for highlighting the different platforms, even information platforms that we can get different information, like the labor market information and the 3 categories, including the Kenya Skills Hub. That was quite insightful, and thank you for all that, and even for the policies that even are within this year. So sisi kama Gen Z, we will keep ourselves updated so that we are able to make important decisions about our lives and the creation of jobs. So I think at this point, we'll move on to another interesting part of this session. Please kindly, if your mic is on, have it on mute so that we are not distracting speakers or yeah. So please kindly, it's a kind request, put it on mute.
Hello. Hello, are we allowed to ask questions to Dr. from the Social Labor Ministry? Or we'll have a Q&A question at the end of this session.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, we'll have a Q&A session. Please keep it, you can write it down somewhere or even on the chat, have it live on the chat. There's someone monitoring and definitely we'll have a Q&A session. But if you allow us so that we finalize on everything, and then we are able to proceed to the Q&A session. So at this point, I want to welcome Dr. Ehud Gashuhu. He's the Global Director, Youth and Jobs, as well as the Director, Ajira Digital Program here at the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. He'll be taking us through the next session. It's a panel session, and Karibu Daktari. I don't want to debrief. Maybe I allow you to proceed. Karibu.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's such an honor and a pleasure for me to be here today as we celebrate the International Youth Day 2024. I also want to join my colleagues who have spoken there earlier and say that this celebration would not have come at a better time than today. And we firmly believe that for us to make progress, then investing in our young people is a priority for all of us. And so I am really excited to be part of this celebration today and welcome all of you here. And I believe that the warmth that we are going to give to each other will also result into opportunities. As I was listening to this conversation, I almost changed the theme of the International Youth Day. And when Neston told us that has been clicking, and the resource of clicking is a MacBook, and really that was a very profound insight. And so I believe that as we continue to explore the opportunities that are in the digital economy, it's good to recognize that Kenya really is a leading a powerhouse in the digital transformation in the region, and that's really what we are trying to capitalize, and that's what we will continue to capitalize to ensure that we maximize on that digital transformation by, ensuring that our young people are not left behind by this transformation, by creating the necessary opportunities for them, building their capacity. And I'm really glad to hear the policy environment and how it's rapidly changing to adapt to this context that we are finding ourselves in. So as we get now deeper into our conversation, we are very, very excited to have a panel of very, very, eminent persons who have been investing heavily on the digital economy and looking at the intersections between the digital transformation, green transformation, skills development, and job creation. And I believe that they're here to share insights on what they have learned, what they see as opportunities where we can all piggyback and plug in to make a difference in the society in which we are currently existing. There is also the call that now we are living in a global village. How do we then make sure that we are getting connected as we continue to click, so that in all dimensions we are making progress from policies to practice? And so without further ado, allow me to introduce my panel. And here with us today is Mushemi Wabogo, who is a resident digital economy at the MasterCard Foundation. We want to welcome you very much, Mbona Mushemi. We also have Winnie Karanu. Winnie is the National AI National Skills Director. I'm an Artificial Intelligence National Skills Director for the Microsoft. And welcome very much, Winnie. We are glad to have you here. We have Beatrice Kishohe, who is the country lead for Challenge Fund for Youth Employment. Beatrice, karibu sana. We are glad to have you around. Then we have Gideon Murenga. Murenga is a senior technical vocational education and training and labor market advisor at the GIZ. Welcome very much, Gideon. Gideon is an old hand in the technical vocational education space, as well as digital transformation. We also have Martin Karori, the CEO and the founder of Skills Hub. Welcome very much, Martin, as well as Alan Matano. Alan is a young person who is doing amazing stuff. He's able to tell us about the kind of stuff that he's doing. That is really cool and very inspiring. And so we look forward to the conversation. So with me, I want to once again say welcome all of you to the panel, and we are really happy to have you. Maybe we just go straight into it, and I'll start with you, Mushemi, as as you continue to introduce yourself. And I know that MasterCard Foundation has really invested in digital economy in a scale that you've never seen before. And one of the things that you've been curious is why this? Why is this so important to, to the MasterCard Foundation? And the other thing that really you could also delve into is what you are really doing. And then in particular, you have a clear interest around inclusion, and the inclusion topic is very big for the foundation. So giving us some insights that would really be very useful for us. So Moshemi, kindly take the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ehud. And first of all, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Youth Day. I know given our circumstances in our country, it's not very happy, but I'm sure the topics that we're going to discuss today, I think will lend a hand in easing the kind of societal pressures that we have with the youth and employment. My name is Mushem Wambogo and I work for the MasterCard Foundation. And what we do at the foundation is that we have a very intentional way of looking at the youth. In this case, we try to get as many youth employed as is possible. Our target for Africa is 7 million youth by 2030. And in Kenya alone, we are looking at least at 1 million in the digital space by 2030. Our programming is also very unique in the sense that it's not only does the skilling part, which is youth skilling in digital, but also in the job linkages part, which is trying to find work for the young people. As of now, we've trained close to 300,000 young people in digital spaces. And in our digital pyramid, as we call it, we start with foundational level skilling, like you heard about transcription and virtual assistants, to intermediate levels where Winnie and I and Amazon and Oracle all get together to provide certifications for young people. And then we move to the higher end skilling, which is the AI type skilling, software development, security, etc. Now, if you look at that whole pyramid, you look at two things. One is that there's skill at any level. And then the second part of it is that there's a pathway. I don't know that Grace Mary, you can mute participants from your side.
Yes, sir. Apologies for that, we're doing that. Okay,
so the idea here is to try and get as many young people as is possible into the job market. Now, another key thing that we also focus on is rural youth. Because we know that the environment doesn't really focus, a lot of these programs just focus on urban youth and getting them into the labor market. Unfortunately, a lot of the rural youth, people who are displaced, as well as women, don't get as many opportunities to join the labor market in the digital space. So our programming is actually very specific. It looks at least 70% young women between the ages of 18 to 35 to be involved in the digital space. And then second of all, we also focus on 5% of our participants are going to be in displaced areas, and then 5% also people with disabilities, so that then we can try from the bottom to try and lift as many people up into the job ecosystem as is possible. So far, we have been able to train more than 300,000 young people from 2019 to date by virtue of working with our partners like Immobilis. We have also been able to place close to 50,000 of those into work by virtue of our partnership with KEPSA. And so we are looking to try to grow this population moving forward. We're in the process of trying to start designs for new programming so that we can get as many young people into the job space as is possible. I was very, very happy to have listened to Dr. Anjiro and in the presentation she gave, because one of the things that we've also been working on is two things. One is to try and get our linkages through the Ajira digital platform, and I'm glad that it can be connected to this posttraining.go.ke. I think that should be a really good partnership there. And then also, we are also as a foundation setting up, we're calling it the Youth Opportunity Hub, which will show all the market spaces and all the programming that we do and how the courses are availed. Now, we work through our partners, and the way in which we provide services is that we give bursaries to young people who then are able to take the courses. Obviously, digital courses are very expensive. Neston talked about the equipment that he's been able to save and to buy. But we find that a lot of young people don't have that capability, and they don't even have the smartphones to begin with. So we try to give bursaries to these young people who qualify so that they can get the courses for free. And then also, in some cases, work with people, partners like Microsoft and Amazon to get people actually certified. And we could also bear the cost of certifying those people, so that way we are giving an equal space in the ecosystem to allow for success all around. Because even if you don't get a job, you'll be able, just like Neston said, be able to employ people moving forward. I'll pause there for a minute, just so that I can give the other members of my panel a chance, but I'll be happy to take questions moving forward. Thank you, Dr. Ashugo.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mushemi, particularly for servicing this concern around how do we make sure that we leave no one behind. How do we include young people in rural and hard-to-reach areas, as well as those who are challenged? And I think we applaud the foundation for the great work of really entrenching inclusion as part and parcel of their programming in unlocking the opportunities for young people in the digital economy. And as you're saying that, I was asking, now that the topic of the town is artificial intelligence, and I know Microsoft has invested heavily on that. Will it come and wipe out all the good things that the foundation is doing, or really, how does that, sort of landscape and horizon look like, Winnie? We are very scared that, with AI, there are massive opportunities, but equally there's a lot of, significant disruption around, the future of humanity, but also future of work, which is the most important component. What do we do with the transcribers that are in this call today? What do we do with people who are doing digital marketing? And AI can do that. So what's the horizon, and what should we be preparing for? Where are our efforts needed most?
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and really lovely to listen to Dr. Wanjiru and Mushemi as well in terms of the work that they're doing, because I think it kind of really emphasizes the need for us to have a collective action rather than us trying to do things separately. I'll speak a little bit about, I think, the opportunity you rightly said, but also what we are doing. According to Microsoft's recent Work Trend Index, AI is uniquely poised to create a whole new way of working. Just as the pace of information is outpacing our ability to keep up, there is an opportunity for us to kind of think through how do we rethink about how we're working. According to the index, 68% of the survey respondents say that they struggle with too much time spent searching for information in their workday. And while 54% of people say they are worried AI will replace their jobs, even more, 77% are already using AI at work, with many of them bringing their own tools to work, which means that there's a kind of an interesting balance here. I think there is an opportunity for us to be able to think through what can AI do and how do we learn about what AI can do. But also, I think, as you rightly said, AI will not only replace, I don't think it will kind of completely take over our jobs. It will replace the kind of jobs that we are doing, but also kind of think about how do we kind of, because it will start automating a lot of the things that we are doing on a day-to-day that is taking too much time from productivity. So it will help us to really improve our productivity, but also it will help us to kind of think about how then what is the next level of work that we can do, given that we're able to remove the kind of the day-to-day repetitive work. Even though there's apprehension about what the rising technology will mean for jobs, I believe that AI-enabled innovation will generate economic and societal opportunities for the communities we serve. To take full advantage of these many benefits, job seekers and employed professionals are likely to develop their skills in working with AI. And I'll give you an example. I think since ChatGPT was launched a couple of, actually now almost 2 years, there has been a change in terms of how we think about work, the kind of information that you're able to sift through using just one kind of prompt and command. But also as well, I think thinking through about how we can ensure that we are supporting people to be able to learn about this technology, what it can do and how it can do it. Because I believe that it does have the opportunity to transform industries like agriculture, healthcare, and different services. Microsoft has significantly enhanced, and I think we did a study last year, and we launched it this year, a white paper on AI and the future of work, which I would encourage everyone. I'll share a link on the chat here. But it kind of looks into the African context and what the opportunities and the risks are when it comes to AI. And I think the opportunities here are more in terms of, the opportunity to enhance labor productivity and create new jobs. We are investing in a whole range of digital skills that we're training people on, from machine learning to natural language processing to human computer interaction to kind of generative AI and the basics of that, or how that can improve your productivity on a day-to-day basis. So in terms of just the types of skills you can learn within the AI space is quite diverse. And I think that's where the opportunity lies. When you think about AI from an Africa perspective, there are a lot of things that need to be done for us to be able to kind of make sure that it's inclusive, as Mushemi mentioned. And I think a lot of it is in terms of how it's designed, the governance around it, the investment in education. And I think we're working a lot with universities to think about faculty skilling and kind of rethinking about how they can use AI in their day-to-day learning and training, but also in terms of them being able to teach it and also develop it. We're also doing a lot of campus tours and awareness to make sure that people understand the opportunities of how they can use AI for their day-to-day work, but also position themselves better in the job market. But also we're also working a lot with like KEPSA, where there's a lot in terms of thinking about what does the demands of the market are and how do we match that with the skill set that is required. And I think Dr. Wanjiru mentioned about that mismatch. And I think there's an opportunity for us to really think through how do we ensure that we can address that more intentionally. And I think what is unique about I think Africa, but also in Kenya, is the informal sector and also rural and urban. And I think how do we ensure that we are also continue to be inclusive as possible? And I think one of the things that I think different people have mentioned today is that informal sector contributes significantly to the job market, but there's a lot of work being done in terms of digitization of that sector, and how do we ensure that we can create more opportunities for young people to be able to contribute to that sector. And I think that's something that we have been exploring a lot with Dr. Ehud, and seeing what are the things that we can do there in terms of supporting the digitization and ensuring that we can be able to provide opportunities for young people. I think what Dr. Wanjiru mentioned around apprenticeships and internships, and being able to kind of show that skill set that is required to be able to grow. So as I close, I think what I will say, I think in terms of the areas that we are supporting, one, I think being able to balance the needs and the needs of the communities and individuals by really making sure that whatever that you're training is actually relevant to the ecosystem. Two, I think being able to, as I mentioned, in terms of the informal sector, and emphasizing on empowerment, entrepreneurship, job creation, and so really exploring what are those paths that different people will take after the training, and how do we support them in those individual paths. Three, we have a lot of content that we have developed that is free of charge, and it's providing certification so that you're able to use that to be able to access that opportunity. And I think what we've seen is that, young people are literally leapfrogging in terms of, you're able to take a certification and access an opportunity almost immediately. So being able to, the aspect of, higher education and going to university is really being tested right now. As Dr. Wanjiru mentioned, I think the employability levels are lower for higher education institutions compared to TVETs. And so we're really thinking through how do we support young people to be able to, get to that place where they can earn a living and get decent work as quickly as possible. The other thing that you're doing as well is in terms of trying to bridge the digital divide. We have a lot of programs around infrastructure improvements. We have an initiative called the Airband Initiative that looks into ensuring that we're able to provide free connectivity to schools and communities that are underserved, and also being able to ensure that we can continue to improve the research around how we edge computing and lower resource AI can be used in the African context. We are also working a lot with from an accessibility perspective and inclusive perspective to think through what are the areas where we can really accelerate and support the work that we're doing, and making sure that no one is left behind. And then finally, I think with regards to finding ways that we can ensure that you can accelerate the inclusive nature of AI in terms of the data sets. I think in as much as as AI is here also from an African context, it's not that inclusive because the data sets in Africa are still very limited, and we're really encouraging from universities and their research institutions to governments and others to be able to really kind of digitize their data and ensuring that it's being included in the AI models, so that a lot of the value that is being derived from AI is also being represented in the continent. And I'll just pause there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Winnie. I think that was very profound. And I am actually really stuck at the scale in which, Microsoft is investing in this particular area, and clearly, unpacking the real challenge around skills mismatch and creating the necessary infrastructure that is necessary to really leapfrog and accelerate the adoption of technology. But then again, for who and why? And I think this is really where then we start having a conversation. Then if you really have to maximize on this and really, be able then to leap huge dividends from it, we really must think about the nature and structure of our economy. And you rightly said that, our economy is largely informal. Actually, 93% of our businesses in the country are really SMEs. And that means that, their contribution, which is around 30% of the GDP, cannot be ignored. They contribute 80% to the workforce. So if we continue to enhance and increase productivity gains as a result of using technology, then we create more decent jobs and more better jobs. And it's such an interesting time because we are really working within the context of twin transition, talking about climate change and digital transformation. And that's something that I know, Beatrice and your team has been investing very much in this intersection, and really understanding where jobs can be created by using those sector approaches. If you could just speak a little bit about what you're doing in this particular area, and what are some of the insights that you can share with us on where opportunities are, and what are some of the challenges that we all need to come together as ecosystem actors to try and resolve, to then accelerate and increase the pool of opportunities for young people. Over to you, Beatrice.
Great, thank you very much, Daktari. My name is Beatrice Gishohe. I work for Palladium for a project called Challenge Fund for Youth Employment. Challenge Fund for Youth Employment is a project that is funded by the Dutch government and is supporting decent employment opportunities for young people in Africa and the Middle East. So we are currently running across 11 countries. And as the name suggests, our work is to support our young people to get decent employment opportunities. How do we do this? The Challenge Fund for Youth Employment is private sector driven. Why do we work with private sector? One, because we realize that we cannot talk about job creation if we are not involving private sector. So we work with private sector organizations. Our work in this case is to fund, and we offer grants and technical assistance to private sector organizations. And our key aim here is to catalyze the work of private sector organizations. And what we are saying in terms of catalyzing their activities is that the work they would have done maybe like in 10 years, we catalyze them by injecting funds to ensure that that is done in a shorter period. And then we're able to realize jobs for our young people. Our project works in, we use what we call result-based funding, because in the past we have seen many projects that have come and they never achieve results. So we fund and we do this based on results achieved, because at the end of the day, we need to be accountable, and our young people need to get work. They don't just want to hear funding has gone into these sectors, and at the end of the day, they are still jobless. So we really support organizations that are producing results. We look at 3 sectors or windows. We support youth employment in the green. We look at green jobs, we look at digital jobs, and we also look at the creative sector, which has come up in the recent past. And we all know that from the COVID times that we all learned that we have a lot of talent, and our young people are really showcasing this through the creative sector. So that's also one of the areas, the sectors that we are supporting a lot. We look at decent employment opportunities as is, and where we are having some of all these, chaos from the GNC is because they all want to make decent incomes. They want to be able to earn a living. They want to be able to support themselves. And so looking at the researches that have been done, and some of my speakers who've gone before me have said, we have very many young people that have been skilled and they have not been able to be placed or to find work. And so it's very, very critical then that these pathways for employment are defined and they are clear and they are supported, so that our young people, other than just being churned out from universities and TVETs, they are able to find opportunities for themselves. So one of the key objectives of CFY is to ensure that other than our young people being skilled, they also find placement opportunities. And so we are working with organizations that are keen to ensure that they are offering placement opportunities for these young people, either through creating new opportunities that didn't exist before. And this can happen because once we scale up these organizations, or we inject funds to scale up these organizations, opportunities that didn't exist before are created, and so young people get work. Then we are looking at organizations that are able to match young people. Again, from the previous speakers, they have said we have so many young people that have skill, but they have not been able to find work. So supporting organizations that bring the two together. We have all this talent that is in the market. We have employers who also say they are not able to find good talent. And so we are supporting organizations that are able to bridge this gap and bring these two together. We also know that we have many young people that are underemployed. They are working, but they are working poor. So supporting initiatives that are helping them to improve their incomes and improving their livelihoods is also one of the pathways that we look at in terms of supporting the young people. So the question that comes is, how are we seeing the integration between the digital and the green sectors? I think today more than ever, we are all wanting to be green. All organizations are saying we are going green, and the digital capabilities have come to support even the greening of the sectors, the organizations, the institutions, the working spaces, I think more than before. So what we have seen in CFY is that it's possible to integrate the two, because all these greening organizations, they need to ride on digital capabilities for them to improve, for example, their energy efficiencies. They need to digitize their systems to make sure they're efficient. They need to collect a lot of data. And I think today, most organizations are coming to appreciate the role of data in decision making and in looking into the future, for example, use of AI. And so then we are finding that whether you're in the green sector, whether you're in the digital sector, the two of them can ride on each other in terms of either using the data, using the capabilities possible. For example, we have seen a lot of greening of traditional sectors like the construction sector. We have seen a lot of renewable energy, and most of the jobs have been created in these sectors through the support of CFY. And some of the successes that we have seen so far, we've been around since 2021. We have been able to support young people to get jobs. More than above 21,000 jobs have been created through our project. And the good thing about, and I think one of the gentleman who was speaking is a product of CFY. When I hear the work of KEPSA and TWIVA, this is one of the initiatives that CFY is supporting. So a lot of jobs have been created through our initiative, which has been very successful. The other thing that I have seen in the course of this work is the need for collaboration, collaborative efforts. And I think we can't say this, we can't overemphasize this, that you cannot be able to create jobs alone. So we have seen the need for organizations to come together, different stakeholders to come together. And when Dr. Wanjiru was speaking, I was appreciating the work that the government has been able to do in terms of developing policies, developing committees that are supporting these spaces. And so we have seen that most success has been achieved where the industry, the educational institutions, and the professional bodies have been able to come together. Because then we are saying that the skill that has been developed from the university, for example, or the educational institution is speaking exactly to what the industry is looking at. And so some of those initiatives have really been successful because we are saying we are churning graduates that are needed in the market. And so there is no gap. And therefore that bridging of the mismatch between the industry and the educational institutions, we have seen it through some of the the partners that we are working with, which has been very commendable. And even as Dr. was asking, how can this be scaled up? I would say we must continue collaborating. You know, all the stakeholders that are in this space, the government that supports us a lot in terms of developing the policies and putting in infrastructure, the development actors, the educational institutions. It is time we all worked together. Then that way we are going to ensure that we do not have gaps, or we are closing the gaps that are already in the market, because then the industry says this is a skill I require, the education or the curricula is developed to match that skill, and the resources have been put in, and the infrastructure again is also in, because we are all speaking the same language. I think collaboration is one of the key. And then we still have gaps in terms of the skills. I know a lot is happening already. I mean, like if you listen to Microsoft, if you listen to MasterCard, a lot of support is being given to the young people in terms of skilling them up. But I feel like we still have some gaps to address in terms of ensuring that our young people still get skilled. We still have quite a number of young people that have not been able to access the skills. So I think we have to just continue scaling up what we are doing to ensure that we reach wide across the nation and across Africa, and of course, so that then we do not have young people who have not been reached by the many initiatives that are going around that are supporting them. Thank you very much. I don't know whether I have left anything, and I'm open to address any question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Beatrice. And actually, I was just reflecting on your very last statement around how are we ensuring that young people have information around the good and amazing things that you're doing, and just how then could we make that information available and accessible to everyone in any corner of this country, because all these programs you're talking about here are extremely transformational. And of course, they're meant for the Kenyan young people. And you talked about the skills mismatch, and I know Gideon has been working with JZ on trying to address these issues of skills mismatch. And there was a point by Dr. Wanjiru around the technical vocational education and its role in really driving this transformation, whether it's digital, green, or otherwise. And I think this is one, equalizer that we all are appreciating, that majority of the young people in this country are really, taking vocational training and technical courses. But what exactly does that space look like? We know traditionally, vocational training centers and technical institutions have been sort of having certain caliber of students, but I think we've seen a lot of progress around demystifying and making vocational and technical training, more compliant to the changes and the growth. And so, Morenga, if you could quickly interject on the great and amazing work you're doing there, and what are some of the lessons you're learning, and also if you can also mention some of the areas where you're actually in operation, so that young people in this core can actually also tap into the great and amazing work that JZ is doing, particularly on the areas of skills development, but also in the gig and digital work.
All right, thank you, Dr. Held, and glad to be in this conversation today. So I think, as you've already mentioned, we are supporting the government of Kenya to implement what we refer to as a dual TVET project. And the dual TVET project is actually a German model of training.
but we are using an adapted version that works in the Kenyan context. The project started in 2019 with about 7 schools. Now it is present in about 65 TVET schools. We have about 3,000 students who have joined the program. We are partnering with about 1,300 industries mixed from bigger industries like Coca-Cola. We have very small SMEs, very small salons cutting across various processes. So the idea behind this is that is to enhance the employability of young people by ensuring that they acquire industry-relevant training programs. This ensures that their transition into work becomes easier. The exposure to real-world life, examples, comes in practically to actually support some of the things we are talking about here, which is innovation, because innovation is actually creating new jobs. How can they be able to commercialize their ideas so that it's not just a talk show, but it becomes a new business, because new business, then those are new jobs. Unfortunately, we have been running a system where we are very white collar focused, a lot of us, and we continue to transfer that knowledge even to our children and other people. It's about go to university, get yourself a good job, but who needs to create the jobs? So we have forgotten about where are we as a country in terms of the business capacity within our space. So we are sending a lot of people to colleges to gain white collar jobs, but those jobs need to be created. So who is going to create those jobs? So those are the things that we are trying to enhance with this TVET training, so that we can be able to nurture the skills around innovation, so that these businesses can also be supported. Ideally, when people go to TVET, there are 3 avenues you're looking at in terms of career pathways. There are those who want to advance their studies. There are those who want to start businesses. There are those who want to get into jobs immediately. So dual TVET enables these pathways for these young people to be able to pursue. And with the exposure they get from the industries, a lot of them are already coming out very, very successful and innovative. We have 47 graduates who went through the program. All of them actually employed. In fact, it was a fight for employment from the employers, because everybody wanted to employ them because they have already trained with the industry. Actually, the model is that they spend 50% of their training in the industry and the remaining 50 in the TVET school. So they alternate between terms, where the first term they start in school, then they go to the industry, the second term they come back to the school. So they keep on rotating until they're able to complete their training. So you find the kind of exposure they get, even the benefit to the industry is clear, because it's plug and play for the industry. They don't have to reinvest again in induction and retraining for another 6 months. They are given a contract in the morning and they start working immediately. And that is the benefits that a lot of industries have been able to note by getting these young people. Another advantage that the industry are also getting is that they can be able to tailor the trainings. We have industries that have identified specific schools they work with. I'll give an example of, we have an institution called Nyamira National Polytechnic. It was former Kerubo Technical Training Institute. That is around Nyamira. They are working with 11 tea factories under KTDA around Nyamira area, and they have tailored the program to fit. So it's plant mechanics, but it is tailored to what they want. So it gives the industries an advantage to be able to tailor the program to fit exactly what they want in the training. We have also observed that issues about retention is also quite high for the students that the industries have been able to mentor, because these are students who have been nurtured, they understand the culture of that industry, they have trained with them. So retention is, and that is what is important to an industry. Let us remember that the industry space is about productivity and profit making. And therefore, if they can be able to get someone who's productive but can support them in that space, that is the person that they will also go for. And obviously, this also helps to improve aspects around the economy in terms of economic development, in terms of our competitiveness of our industries, because we are also competing at a global level as a country. So if we can be able to have a productive workforce that can support our industries, it means that even our industries can compete at a global level. And it means we can be able to get a workforce that will drive this, innovation and productivity, and at the same time reducing unemployment, which is the biggest challenge that we have in the country right now. Because if we can be able to come up with the relevant courses that actually support the integration of these young people into jobs, it means that we are reducing issues around employment. You see a lot of young people have energy. And we were saying the other time that, yeah, they have energy to spend a whole day on the streets. You know, if that energy can be converted into productive energy, just imagine what kind of industries will be driving in this country. So the energy is there, the zeal is there, but can we redirect it and provide platforms for them to be able to direct it in more productive areas of the economy? So that is what we are doing in the dual TVET space. So far we have about 65 TVET schools cutting across the country that are rolling out the program. We are supporting the ministry to come up with a dual TVET policy that will also be able to, to support the integration of these young people into jobs, and as well as provide platforms for incentivizing of industries, and many other things that we are working, capacity development, working with the Kenya School of TVET to train trainers, as well working on other spaces of digital integration. Digitization, of course, is a big space. Also to be able to support aspects of inclusivity within the model. So as we work on that, it's also about changing the perception towards TVET, because I think a lot of conversations have been held around Kenya being an emerging economy. And being an emerging economy, you need more people, who are building skills, who are building our industries. We need more skilled persons to build our industry, to build our economy. We are producing excess of white-collar job seekers, unfortunately, and this has always been mentioned in a lot of conversations. We are not at a level. There are, of course, a few areas, yes, but we need a lot of those skills so that we can be able to even attain our Vision 2030 objective. Because for us to become a middle industrialized country, workforce development, it needs to be a priority. So it's about changing the perception around TVET. What does TVET hold? And we are now seeing a lot of success about people coming from TVET, because you're coming out with skills, and you see skills sets you apart from anybody else. These formal jobs we all have ends at retirement, but skills person practice their skills until they die. And that is the advantage of being a skilled person. So you acquire a skill, you practice it, only death will do your part with your skill. That is the advantage of it. And that's why even when you look at some of the spaces you operate in, there are some old people you go for about 78 years to come fix this and that, because they still practice their skills. So in addition to our formal models of trainings, TVETs are coming in to give everyone an advantage, to go back and acquire, short-term skills that enables you to practice something else beyond your formal engagements that you do on a day-to-day basis. And I think that really helps us as a country, because you acquire a skill pack that sets you apart from anybody else. Now, digitization is bringing in a lot of that. Yeah, because now digital skills that also all of us need to acquire can also be acquired through these short-term trainings. When you talk about, there was a very good presentation from me about the AI. It is an emerging space. There's all this fear about, will AI replace jobs that are in existence? When you look at the World Economic Forum report, says in the next 10 years, AI will replace about 85 million jobs, but it will create more than 95 million jobs, other jobs. So the net gain is more than 10 million jobs. So we have to look at, what does that mean? It means that there'll be new skill sets that will be required for some of us to continue being relevant. And it means we have to go back to be skilled, because even as we are saying AI will pump about $15 trillion into the economy in the next 10 or 20 years, the distribution of that will not be to everyone. It will be only to those who will have acquired additional skills to continue being relevant. So there are aspects of us trying to look at, what do we need to do so that we continue being relevant? And the whole perception around the negativity around TVETs, because TVETs are now coming in to support those short-term trainings and skills development. So we need to look at that. The issues around which university I went to and so on, it is bypassed over time. Now the recent industries that are coming up, when you look at, when you're even being interviewed, It is you demonstrating what can you be able to do. Because for them, they are driven by productivity and profit making. If you're in a position where you can be able to demonstrate this is your capability, that is what they are looking for. Issues of papers and so on. These things are now coming to an end. The 47 students who went through the TVET program, in the dual TVET program, 10 of them were graduates. They completed their degrees, went to the world of work. It couldn't work out. They came back, took the course, and now they're employed and they got a job. So it is also us to try and look at what are the manpower needs for the economy. That means we align the manpower needs of the economy to our training. So it means we are training for relevance. Not just training for purposes of training, but training for what does our economy need now? And those are the skills that we need to build and develop. And in our engagements with industries, when it comes to dual TVET, because dual TVET is very strategic with engaging with industries. First, the industry will tell you what kind of skills do they want. We have realized more than 50% of the industry, the skills that industry require is not what our schools are training. So our schools are training different traditional, conventional courses. The industries are asking for a different set of skills. So dual TVET brings in this match and is able to link the needs of the industry versus what kind of curriculums needs to be developed. And right now we have a lot of new curriculums that are coming up as a result of that engagement with the industry. They are really supporting these young people, mentoring them to become the next industry captains. Very good, many examples. I know cases where students went to a whole industry during their second year of training in TVET. Those were the ones from Kiambu National Polytechnic. They installed a whole distillation line on their own, just with the supervision of a mentor. And they had not even completed school. In fact, it surprised many people because a lot of people have graduated even from university could not be able to do that. So it is about hands-on training. It's about acquiring skills that will be able to transform our individual lives, the lives of these young people, and at the same time contributing to building the economy. So in terms of where the program is, I cannot be able to mention all the 65 institutions, but the TVET, public TVETs, about 235 approved, and that one you can be able to find on the TVET Authority website. Out of that, there's a footprint of dual TVET in about 100 of them. So there's 65 active, about 40 that we are providing virtual support. And this cuts across from all the way in Kilifi end to the Busia end. So any of those, there are 24 public national polytechnics, all of them have dual TVET. So if I start mentioning, it would be a very long list. But Nairobi, the pioneer schools were Nairobi Technical, Thika Technical, Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology, which is now Kiambu National Polytechnic. And the other pioneers in Western, we had Bumbe, TTI in Busia, Kerubo Gietai, which is now Nyamira National Polytechnic. In Nyamira, we have RIAT, Ramogi Institute of Advanced Technology in Kisumu, and Kitale National Polytechnic. So maybe I can leave it there for now as we continue the conversation. Thanks, Amit.
Wow, what an insightful submission, Gideon. And I think, servicing the aspect of competency, I feel like in digital, we're moving to portfolio development, which is really the mirroring of what, TVET has really perfected around competency-based education, where really the evaluation of an employer is not on the number and the volume of papers you have, is actually how you are competent about handling a particular role that really is expected of you. And I'm sure I cannot speak that better than Martin, because Martin really has been in that intersection of, of helping companies to get the right competence, skill set and workforce to drive their transformation, but also understands really what the private sector is speaking about currently. So Martin, what should we be on the lookout? Is our conversation employers compliant? Are we speaking the language that business wants to hear? But what else can we do to business to make sure that they are creating more opportunities for young people?
Okay, thank you very much for that, for this session. I would, again, a very difficult topic, but I'll try and tackle it. I hope I'm loud and clear. Yeah. All right, great. Yeah, so I mean, for me, I'll kind of try and ground this conversation. And when you talk about private sector being very broad, the first thing that you have to establish is that companies are set up to make profit. Yeah. Companies are not set up to create jobs. Yeah. But in their pursuit of profit, they need to scale. And as they're looking to scale, then they hire people. And they require different skills along the way. And as they move into new regions, they also require other people there. And when you look at the whole conversation of jobs and the private sector, the question is, how are we supporting these companies to scale the products and the services that they offer their customers? That's really the key question. And I like what Gideon said, especially with regards to skilling. Yeah. And so right now, the conversation of talent there's a global shortage. It's not just Kenya. Yeah. Manpower International released their 2023 report. Yeah. And they said 75% of employers around the world are struggling, yeah, to find the right talent. Yeah. And 55% of those companies were willing to get talent from other regions. Yeah. So right now we're at a place where, yes, Kenya is high on unemployment, but companies all around the world are willing to get talent wherever it exists. Now, at Skills Hub, specifically, we work with the private sector, and we don't generalize and say private sector. Instead, we work with company X and company Y, yeah? And we now create a program for that company that will allow it to harness the talent that it's looking for. We've not been very successful with Kenyan companies, although we're getting our roots deeper and deeper, but we've been quite successful with companies outside the country. One example, and I think most people on this call know about it, but it's remote tasks, which we were able to bring into the country. And we were able to create a very specific program for them that allowed them to build talent across the region. Yeah. And collectively, I know just through the program we're in, and we had over 50,000 people connected to work. Yeah. And obviously millions of dollars in earnings collectively or cumulatively. Yeah. And we've also worked with Google. Yeah. Based in San Francisco, where we were helping them to create a certain product. Yeah. That's how we were putting it, where we're supporting them in a product that they are looking to launch in the region. Yeah. And out of that, we had, and this was a program that was actually going to create multiple, employment opportunities across the region. Yeah. And so the reason why I'm saying this is that with private sector and with the initiatives that we are running here, we cannot generalize them and say, talent for private sector or jobs in private sector. The only way we can truly stimulate these jobs is by creating very specific programs. Yeah. If it's engineering, the needs of Microsoft may be very different from the needs of a Tesla or the needs of a Safaricom or the needs of a company here that's just doing e-commerce. You see. So how do we now look at e-commerce companies in Kenya that require engineering services? What programs are we creating? And that's really where we are venturing into. Yeah. Right now, through the work that we've been doing, we've been able to work with organizations such as Google. We've been able to work with organizations such as Remotas. We've been able to work with organizations such as Scale AI, which is a much larger company playing in the AI space globally and is creating solutions for multiple companies across the globe. Yeah. And we've been able to provide talent for those companies. Yeah. Because we are creating specific programs. Yeah. And when you now look at that, you also have to ask yourself the question that how can we scale that? Yeah. And how do we scale that? Yeah. We also have to stimulate, especially, I'm trying to bring this, home and say, how do we look at the private sector within the local economy? Yeah. And right now we're working with Riara University. Yeah. And, a lot has been mentioned, especially on feedback to the academic institutions, yeah, on what they need and how they can collaborate with the private sector. And we faced this challenge, and we realized that we were training again from scratch every time we started a new program with a new company, yeah. And that's why we realized that, hey, how can we now push this down to academia so that academia can now train and give us a talent at a certain level without having to go down and retrain on the foundational skills. Yeah. And through that, yeah, our partnership with Riara is, which we have just launched, yeah, or just launching right now, yeah, is where we're now working with them and then now creating that feedback loop. And we are constantly in the market. We are constantly in the, what do you call it? Interacting with private sector, even locally, yeah. And now, how do we give them that feedback so that they can then train that and add it to their curriculum and use it with relevant examples and case studies in their training, as opposed to somebody graduating after 4 years, then coming to me to retrain them or to train them on things which they should have been trained back then. Yeah, and I would like to see for me, I think we should get into, as KEPSA, maybe we need to be launching more and more innovation challenges. Yeah, how do we get companies, creating or launching more innovation challenges that allow the youth to participate, yeah, with private sector. In fact, let's call a spade a spade. I think the youth only engage with private sector at the point of employment, which is very sad, yeah. And that should be like, they should have engaged them prior, yeah. And then the other thing is, how do we also encourage startups? Because in developed economies, a lot of startups are acquired by corporates, yeah. But I haven't seen much of that here. And how can we get corporates to actually start taking startups seriously and start investing in startups, start investing like in the KEPSA accelerator, where they're, investing in the businesses there and in other accelerators across the region, yeah, in innovations that are being developed in TVETs, not just funding the TVET generally, but specifically, there's this guy who's creating a water filter that can do wonders. How do we get specific corporates to start investing in that? And for me, that's what I would like to see, because that's how jobs are created, because that filter will sell in Kenya, in the region, and in other regions, and create multiple jobs. And those are the SMEs that we'll pretty much be launching. Yeah, so that's the way I would look at it in terms of creating jobs. It's really by creating products and programs with private sector that can actually allow for, genuine scale. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Martin, for being punchy on really where we need to be investing our efforts in terms of, bringing private sector on board to support our work, and also, to be active participants in the skills development space. And I agree with you that, it has to start with what's the role of the private sector? Why are they in the first place established? Of course, we know that you have to go build profit to people and planet, but the premise is around, profitability, productivity. And I think that's a very important question. And one of the things that we have actually been learning is that even as we pursue productivity, uptake of technology in private sector has quite been low. In fact, there's a recent report that says that, companies that are actually adapting technology faster and taking advantage of the emerging technologies are able to up their revenue by close to 20%. But that's not happening. And I think one of the things that we've been trying to do is to bring to the service, particularly for micro and small enterprises, technologies that have revolutionary capabilities. So AI, generative AI, cybersecurity, data analytics, and sort of, cloud computing. And Alan here has a very interesting story around how he's helping a small company to transform its data by using a very cutting edge technology on data science. Previously, it was very difficult for us to say, hey, you can actually be able to get a data analyst and create a whole revenue and cost center around it, not just a talent that actually you expend through your P&L, but actually it's really not about another additional workforce, but about transformation, consumption of skills, and ability to really use that for productivity gains. So Alan, if you could quickly share your insights, and our participants, we would also like to request that you continue on dropping your questions on the chat. After here, we'll go quickly to your questions, and we will respond to all of them as much as possible. But Alan, if you could now quickly interject and tell us about this amazing stuff that you're doing and how actually you even landed in this this area.
Right. Okay. Sorry about that. I couldn't unmute for a second. Hello, everyone. My name is Alan Matano. I am a data analyst and AI integration engineer who works for a research firm here in Kenya. So, Dr. Ehud, thank you so much for your question, and I am so honored to be in the company of such great contributors and also my fellow youthful people. So to answer your question, I must say I am a large language AI who cannot respond to that question, but that's on a light note. Anyway, so let me just go ahead and talk about my experience and what I have done in terms of contributing at a corporate scale, at an academic scale, and even at a societal scale. So the firm that I work for, they're basically the people that you come to when you want to uncover insights, right? So for example, you are maybe the owner of a business and you want to know how your brand, how brand aware people are, the general market is, or perhaps you're a presidential candidate and you want to understand how people perceive you and how people perceive your manifesto. Or perhaps you have a supermarket and you also want to maybe uncover insights of how people see the shopping experience at your supermarket. So you come to our company and you ask us to do an extensive research and tell you basically what you do not know. So I am not really on the research front, but I am on the AI integration front. And what that basically means is, as our research firm continues to uncover all these insights, as you can imagine, it uncovers petabytes of data in large quantities. And most of the time, researchers do not have the chance to, skim through data and uncover maybe a paragraph or maybe even a simple statistic about research that was maybe done 10 years ago. So that is where I come in. So, and KEPSA has been so gracious through the Digital Explorers, program to link me with this company, where we basically provide pathways with AI with the power of AI to basically empower researchers to find insights in research that has been done in the past. So we're basically creating a knowledge hub where a researcher would come and approach, and through some basic prompt engineering, they are able to uncover insights about research that has been done in the past. So that is at corporate scale. At a societal scale, I have been involved in projects for the governmental sector, specifically actually the health sector. And in this project, what we were basically doing is we wanted to know how prepared Kenya is for the next pandemic. And so what did we do? We basically had to collect data about all our healthcare centers that we have in the country, from that simple clinic to maybe level 5 hospitals, and basically see how prepared they are in terms of the facilities that they have, the population that they serve, how effective are they in terms of serving this population with what they currently have. And so how we approached this problem was we came up with a score. We called it a vulnerability score. So we would scale people from a vulnerability index of 1 to 5, 1 being the least vulnerable to 5 being the most vulnerable. And how we would scale them is children of less than 5 years old and senior citizens of 65 years old and above would be given a score of 5, and it would go cascading downwards until maybe when you get to a youthful generation where you're talking about maybe people between the age of 15 to about maybe 40 years old who had the best, or rather the least vulnerable score. So we would find that areas such as Mandera has scored the highest in terms of vulnerability. They had a score of about 4.2. And what that basically meant is that they have a significant population who happen to be either very, very young, that is under 5 years old, and very, very old, maybe not very, very old, but senior citizens of 65 and above. So the recommendation that we gave at that time, one of the recommendations that we gave is sections such as Mandera. We basically asked the government and really the Ministry of Education, so rather the Ministry of Health, to foster their funding around geriatric care and pediatric care. And geriatric is basically care that is tended to senior citizens, and pediatric, by contrast, is that is tended to the youthful, rather the very, very young population. And so that was at a societal scale, and I am happy to share these findings with all of you after this call. And so maybe I could also talk about my at an academic level as well. I am a finalist in my master's in data science and analytics. And so in my thesis, I am doing a study of how cognitive, or rather how understanding can be evaluated by looking at cognitive data. That may sound a little bit technical, but to explain it simply, I think when I started my thesis, I was basically looking at all this time that I spent, memorizing things just before the examinations. I would, in the periodic table, you'd have to understand all elements, and in the African continent, you have to understand and recite all countries by heart. And I realized that it is not memory reproduction is not an effective way of imparting knowledge. And so I basically wanted to know, how can we estimate a student's understanding by not just asking him questions based on their memory, but on basically to quantify their understanding. So I am trying to uncover how that can be done, but by the use of artificial neural networks and convolutionary neural networks, I have been able to quantify if a student, or basically to a large extent, have a range of understanding of concepts in students. So that is my contribution to each of those sections, and I am willing and ready to share my experiences with the youthful people here, so that we can uncover these things together. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wow, thank you, Alan. Artificial neural networks, really quite profound and exciting stuff you're doing, and I believe that these opportunities are available for all our young people in this call. And now allow us now to go to the audience, and there are numerous questions that have been shared, and I know we've tried to respond as much as possible, but due to time, allow me to sample a few, and I'll ask my panelists to really interject quickly. I know you've been picking questions as you respond to questions. Also, again, asking you also to do probably your final remarks. Yeah, there are questions for all the for the panelists from Mastercard Foundation. You know, how does one qualify for scholarships? And you know, how many people have been trained and getting opportunities, those who are PWDs or in conflict situations. There's also a question about the gaps, particularly for those between 36 and 45. Definitely, we know that's a transition challenge, you know, and then of course we need to make sure that we're leaving no one behind. How do we then also sort of make that age more productive? You know, Beatrice, you talked about, you know, how do we then bring all this ecosystem, you know, actors together so that our action does not duplicate, but also then is embedded on larger frameworks like the Digital Transformation Strategy for Africa 2020-2030. I think that's a very profound question, you know, question around the ecosystem and know the work that we are all doing here, how people can access TVET, as well as remote jobs. You know, there are many questions there, but I know every panelist has picked their bit. So in 1 minute, if you can quickly interject to your question, but also give your final remarks, and allow me then to start this now in a reverse order. So Alan, you'll be the first one, and then we move up like that. Yeah, 1 minute. Alan, a quick interjection as you also give your closing remarks. You're on mute, Alan. You can unmute yourself. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Right. So, Dr. Ehud, you said I give my closing remarks. Is that correct?
Yes, and you can also interject in the questions that have been asked.
Okay. All right. I'm yet to see a question that is directed at me, but I'll just give my closing remarks and give us all perhaps some data. If all of you forget what I say today, maybe you can take this home. And I'll just give a question. Maybe not a question, but it will be in the form of a did you know? So if you look at the size of Africa in any atlas, any map that is given mainstream, Africa seems to be the size of about maybe same size as maybe North America. So if you look at in terms of the pictorial scale, but in fact, Africa is 3 times the size of America. And I think I'll talk about why this is important and why I'm talking about this. And even in terms of population, America stands at about 330 million versus Africa's population of about 1.3 billion people. And Africa has about 65% of the arable land of the world. Basically, we have most of the land that can be cultivated for agriculture. And then finally, maybe a question. I'll compare one first world country to the African continent. Does any of us know perhaps what the median age is in Germany? So if you're to put all the entire population of Germany from 0 to 100 years old of the people, where do you think the median age would fall? Maybe I can just take 2 guesses from the comments. Just 2 guesses. Is it 20 years old? Is it 30? 54? Okay, that's a good guess, Max. Anyone else? Yeah, about 40. Okay, right. Yeah, so Germany's median age stands at about 45. By comparison, do you know what Africa's median age is? If you were to put the same scale from 0 to 100. Boniface. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think Boniface has got it right. it's about 19. And so why I give you this is just to show you the power that Africa holds and how much of that power lies with the youth. And I think if we grasp and understand the opportunities that we have, especially with these emerging technologies, I think Winnie and Dr. Mojeru had alluded to this, in terms of AI, in terms of blockchain, in terms of even IoT. If you were to hold true to these disciplines as they are still in their infancy here in Africa and here in Kenya, you will be presented with the opportunity to be a pioneer in that discipline. And once you're a pioneer in that discipline, you will be the reference points as people continue to adopt these new technologies. And that will be my challenge to each of us, especially to the youth. Please endeavor to be a pioneer in these emerging technologies, and you shall see yourself thrive into the ever so bright future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alan. That was really, really profound and challenging at the same time. So we go to Martin. If Martin, you can just keep it to 1 minute so that we move.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess for me, the way I would put it is that there are a lot of opportunities. Yeah, let no one tell you that there are no opportunities. They are there. Yeah, and just like has been mentioned on this chat, AI is creating a lot of jobs. Yeah, and it is also destroying a lot of jobs. Yeah, the question and the key thing that you need to look out for is what opportunities is it creating? So that means there's also a lot of personal responsibility involved. Yeah, this forum cannot go around the world looking at, what opportunities AI is creating. Yeah, but you have to be on the lookout for these opportunities. There's a recent surge in, prompt engineers where there's an organization, and I was talking to Ehud about this in Philippines, that's currently scaling in the thousands for prompt engineers, and that's working with tools like the ChatGPTs and the different other tools like that. Yeah. So, take it up, go out there, look at the opportunities that are there, join programs like Ajira, come into our sessions with Skills Hub. Yeah. As we work on the different fronts on the private sector. Now, not all our programs are open to the public. Yeah. But we are looking at creating more and more programs that are beneficial to the broader youth. Yeah. And with Ehud, and in fact, we're just launching right now, Ehud, a new version or a new phase of Spark, which was a hugely successful program that ran last year. So, but other than that, great work, guys, and looking forward to seeing how this moves to the next level. Yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you, Martin. Gideon, 1 minute. You have some questions on the chat as well. Please respond to that, but keep it to 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. I was not able to see all of them, but I saw someone ask about how can they be able to join TVET. So there are about, I mentioned about 250 public TVETs in Kenya and about 900 private ones. So we have over 1,500 TVET schools across the country. And when you search online, you can be able to reach out to any of them. The TVET Authority website has all the accredited and approved TVET for you to be able to find out which is the appropriate one for yourself. I think just to follow up what Alan had mentioned about the mean age and population. Of course, one of the predictions is that by 2050, Africa will contribute 33% of the global workforce. Why? Because there's one side that is aging and there's a younger population in Africa. But those opportunities will only be taken up by those who will be skilled and ready to take up the 33%. So we need to skill our young people. We are a rich continent in terms of minerals. Value addition will enhance our position and capability as a continent. But again, we need to skill our young people in terms of value addition. Of course, then stakeholders is just for us to be able to invest and support these young people in terms of mentoring them, providing them necessary platforms and resources. And let us embrace CBET and competency-based education and training and TVET. Let us embrace this because these are the next billionaires in this continent. But they will practice their skills forever. I think I've already said that. And already we have started seeing those opportunities among these young people. So let us encourage the skilling space. Even if someone gets to the university, can they take some time, take a 3-month course, 1-month course? That's the advantage of flexibility in CBET trainings, so that we can be able to really transform the lives of the young people, transform the lives of ourselves, and improve our economy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gideon. Beatrice?
One of the questions on the chat is whether, the MasterCards, the Microsoft and others are working together. I think a lot is already happening in terms of collaboration. I know we still need to do more, but I think a lot of effort is going into ensuring that these organizations and these different stakeholders are speaking. And I think we are already starting to see results in this. There's a question on how someone can upgrade. I think they're already doing some work in the digital sector. I would say that currently CFOA is working with 21 organizations in Kenya, and they are found on our websites because as CFOA, we don't implement directly. We work through implementing partners, and they can be found on our website. I'll write the website on the chat. We have organizations in the cybersecurity, others in software engineering, and others in digital remote work. You'll find them on our website, and you can be able to plug in on them because they are doing that work. My parting shot to young people specifically, there are many opportunities to learn. Please learn as much as you can. Any opportunity that you get to gain a skill, take it, because one writer said that when opportunity meets preparedness, there's a click moment. That might be your click moment. So take advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatrice. Winnie?
Thank you. I think I've seen that, same questions around collective action, but also in terms of how we support the transition challenge. And maybe I'll refer back to some of the things I mentioned earlier. I think Microsoft has launched the AI National Skills Initiative, which really focuses on being able to, being able to ensure that everyone is able to access AI skilling at scale, and everyone is able to participate in this new AI economy. And the way that you're doing it is pretty much the same kind of context that we've done before in terms of being able to, do it at basic, intermediate, and advanced levels. But also, I think one of the things that AI is also highlighting to us is the need to be able to look at it at a different way. So one, in terms of kind of different personas. So from the users of AI to the people who will be developing AI, but also organizational leaders who need to make decisions around how AI will be adopted in their organizations and how that will impact their day-to-day work. And so also looking at it from that lens, I think is critical because we're able to ensure that you're training people at the right level and being able to ensure that you're empowering people in the things that they need to be empowered in. I think the continuous conversation around resources and kind of the need for collective action. I think the reality of it is for us to be able to do this at scale, we need to partner with different organizations. And so very excited about the desire to do so within this panel, but more so as well with government. And so really thinking around how do we ensure that we can reach as many people as possible and still as well address some of the challenges that are there. I think someone mentioned around how we're doing this to address some of the challenges that are there around technology, which means it's access to the technology itself, connectivity, power, devices continue to be a big challenge. And I think it's how we work together, I think will be the turning point for us to be able to actually have be impactful in the ecosystem. So and I think that continuing to do so as well at all levels. I think the other bit in terms of transitioning challenge, I think the reality of, like, for example, AI and emerging technologies is that, it's new. And so that means everyone will be impacted. And so everyone has to learn. And so I think being able to also think about learning from a lifelong learning perspective is not something you do a degree or do a course and that's done, but more so in terms of always putting yourself in a place where you're always ready to learn and always exposing yourself to what is new. And so looking forward to partnering with the team in the panel here, but also engaging with the youth as well consistently in terms of how we can support better. Thank you.
Thank you, Winnie. Moshemi?
Yeah, lots of interesting questions, lots of interesting discussions, and thank you very much for my panelists as well as those who attended this forum. Just a couple of highlights. Yes, there was a question about the 2030 strategic partnership. I think, just like Beatrice said, we are going to be looking into that. We've already had discussions with some of the partners, some of whom are here, and we want to expand that so that we can collectively have solution sets that meet everybody. Second of all, I think there was a question with regards to inclusion, including deaf and people who have other additional disabilities. So a couple of things. At the foundation, work with partners, and so one of them is like Next Step Foundation. We're also into deep discussions with KISE, that is Kenya Institute of Special Education, whom I think if you have any kind of disability like that, please connect with them. They are an amazing, amazing organization, who then will work with people like Next Step in order to provide these inclusion services in addition to sight, as well as mobility. Now, there was a question, and I think this connects with Gideon, with regards to TVETs. In our new programming elements, currently we connect with 101 Ajira digital centers. I think in the next programming, based on the government focus, we're going to be looking at the Jitume centers as well. And the Jitume centers are connected with the TVET organizations in order to provide these digital services to the young people. Why are we connecting with Jitume centers? Is because they have also additional reach. So imagine, if you will, we have 101, and if we could get to 1450, where all these centers have computers and methods of connecting, can allow us to also increase connectivity. When we talk about connectivity, I think I like what Winnie said about the hubs that they're setting for connectivity. We're also working with an organization called Mawingu, which will try to bring connectivity to the centers at a cheap rate, because we are looking at what is the sustainable model of creating these services to allow for people to actually not only gain education, but also gain sustainability through entrepreneurship. And so if we can work with county governments with the help of Dr. Gashugo and also other partners, we can be able to get to this point. The other thing about the age, now this has become a big problem, but as you saw the age statistics, sadly in our programming, we're only focusing 18 to 35. That's a big, big, big section of the population. But there are opportunities, I think, for the entrepreneurship opportunities should there be above the age of 35, so that way we can create additional opportunities. Now, when I talk about over 35, there's a program we're also trying to look at, which is to focus on BPOs. These are business process outsourcing, which then can combine what we talk about, the functional skill level and the technical skill level. So if you're working on a BPO, let's assume you're supporting a financial organization. You don't, in your upskilling, you can now have, let's say, an accounting background. And now, based on the technical ability to be able to support people, you're able to work in a BPO correctly. So CCI is an organization that is working in this space. For those of you who are interested, you can connect with, there's an organization which is a sister organization foundation called CareerBox. And CareerBox actually then helps prepare young people to work in the BPO space. That's an area that we're also going to be looking at collectively, just because the numbers there are very, very significant to allow people to do remote work, not just necessarily gig work, but actually now remote work that will actually end up giving you dignified and fulfilling work. I'll stop there, Daktari, and thank you very much for the opportunity to come and speak with everybody.
Thank you very much, Mshemi. Thank you very much, panelists, for really unearthing and servicing very fundamental and important insights on what we need to do as a country. And I think one thing that it has come out very conspicuously is the importance of collaboration. Collaboration. And the collaboration we are seeking here is really a collaboration that is very intentional, bringing in young people on the design stage of these programs, bring young people at the front, so that then we are able to bridge any future needs of the industry, but as well as align the skills development and the opportunities in for scaling to where really they can be used and be impactful. And so I really want to really thank all of you for such a great and wonderful conversation. There are many questions on the chat box. Be sure that we respond to all of them. And as we send out the recording plus any presentation, we'll also have a note to accompany the questions that we're able to answer. So with that, allow me to bring this panel to a close. And once again, a good job by panel. And we really want to continue engaging with you. And we will definitely follow up on any other opportunity that come up here for collaboration. Others, thank you very much. And back to you, Grace Marie. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ehud. Thank you so much, our panelists. That has been insightful. I think I can summarize it in six key points. Collaboration, a call for collaboration. It's all hands on deck for us to move further. There's need for upskilling, especially for us young people, and take advantage of opportunities. I believe even by attending this webinar, it's been informative and it has opened up our thoughts in different ways. I've seen many people commenting they hadn't even thought about TVET, so this was a good opportunity. We need to rethink the blue collar and other work creation opportunities away from just white collars. How do we enhance productivity, because that's what businesses are looking out for. So I think those were very brilliant and insightful thoughts there. Thank you everyone for creating the time. And as Dr. Ehud has mentioned, we'll definitely be sending out the presentation. We'll be sharing the presentations that have been made. We'll also do a YouTube link with the recording of this webinar so that you're able to pass it even to other young people or other persons that did not make to attend. And we will be reaching out on emails that you use to register to share all this information. So at this point, I think first is to apologize for taking more of your time and to say I think the conversation was very engaging, and thank you also for being very vibrant on the chats. We were able to pick up most of the questions. And so at this point, I just want to thank you. I want to thank Dr. Wanjiru for creating time and making the keynote. I want to also thank the panelists, not in any order, but just to mention Mshemi, Winnie, Beatrice, Alan, Gideon, Martin, and also to thank our young persons who gave us their testimonies. That's Neston and Esther. And even a great team here at KEPSA that is working behind the scenes to ensure all your questions and this webinar is seamless. Thank you, team, for the great work. And also just to thank also our moderator for the panel, Dr. Ehud, for even being very efficient and taking us through this. So we hope we've managed to answer most of the questions. And as we now wind up, we just want to call this the end, to bring this to the end. And happy International Youth Day. So keep on sharing those opportunities. But I think it's very important to mention something that I've seen that is very exciting on the chat. Most people who have come and say they already have skills and they are not getting these opportunities, please keep tuned to the KEPSA social pages. We are always posting for these work opportunities, and keep trying. You never know. As Alan mentioned, the future of Africa is bright, and so there are many opportunities forthcoming. So happy International Week, and wishing you a lovely day to all of you. Thank you.